Welcome to NeuroMovement Revolution with Anat Baniel, where you will discover breakthrough possibilities for your life through the brain's power to change. We're so happy that you can join us in making the impossible possible.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time is where you are. I am, first of all, so happy to see all of you. And I am thrilled to have my good friend. And I just decided today that you're my positive brain change buddy, Jill Bolte Taylor. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning. It's good to see you, Anna.
Good to see you, and thank you for being with us. And most people know very well who you are. I'm just going to say a few points. So if anybody by any chance was hiding under a rock, they will know who you are. Okay? Okay. So Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor is a Harvard-trained and published neuroanatomist. In 1966, a blood vessel exploded in the left half of her brain. And over the course of 4 hours, she watched her mind completely deteriorate until she could not walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of her life. It took 8 years for her to completely recover all function. In 2008, Dr. Taylor gave her first TED Talk that went viral, continues going viral. You're getting close to 30 million views, Jill.
Wow.
Yeah. And she was the premier guest on Oprah's Soul series, and she was named as one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world for 2008. Her memoir, My Stroke of Insight, a brain scientist's personal journey, spent 17 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list and is translated in over 30 languages. Dr. Taylor is committed to educating the public about neuroplasticity and the ability of the brain to recover from stroke or brain trauma. And I think by today, way more than just brain trauma and stroke. She'll talk about that, I hope. She's a highly sought after public speaker who travels the world, not currently, and she uses her not-for-profit organization, Jill Bolte Taylor Brains, to forward her mission. So I love reading your bio. It re-inspires me every time I do that.
Inspires me too. And there's a typo on there. It shouldn't say 17 weeks. I found out that book was on there for 63 weeks.
Okay, we're going to correct it.
I'll have to change it. Don't worry about it. But it's good to see you. It's good to be back in the world of Anat Baniel.
Thank you, Jill. I thought the very first question I want to pose to you is that I know no one that is more in the manifestation of possibilities. It's like when I think of possibilities and I think of you, I just see an explosion of light. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, but I thought let's start by me asking you, can you talk some of your experience, your ideas, your world of possibilities, expose it a bit to us?
Okay, so I agree. I think that it's part of the value of how I live is I enjoy newness, new, exciting, and new and exciting is not always great. I mean, just the other day I was doing an interview and my generator exploded. And I had to run and look out the window to see was the color of the smoke white, blue, or black, because it depends on what actually went wrong with that generator. So I think it's safe to say I don't adhere to the proper standard of society all the time as defined by the structure. And because of that, I'm willing to live a life that is outside or along the edges of structure. And to me, that's where the excitement is. And I believe that the fruit on the tree, it's out on the limb. You got to go out on the limb to truly find something new and interesting and exciting and there's nutrition there for the soul. So that's pretty much how I live my life, and it works for me. I of course adhere enough to the normal structure of society and what norm would be defined as clearly, but at the same time I value equally as much the present moment and what new and interesting experiential I can have in addition to that structure.
Fantastic. So I'd like to ask you to elaborate with the following question. How, first of all, in general, but especially nowadays with what's going on with the pandemic, people who are parents that have to send their kids to school or not, or parents of children with special needs, or people who deal with whatever they have to deal with. What would you say to people in a situation like that, or in general in life, how to perhaps start generating for them in their own unique world, first of all, for themselves, that world, how to live from a place of knowing possibilities, or knowing there are possibilities even if we don't know what they are yet?
Yes. So I think that the reason why I can exist so fluidly in the possibility is because I have established a structure within which I feel safe. So I actually live on a boat out in the middle of a gorgeous cove, out in the middle of a enormous lake. And I live out here in the woods, in the wild, and the possibility of anything can happen at any moment is right here. However, my boat is well maintained. I do the things that I need to do in order to keep the structure, so that then once the structure's there, then I can feel safe with the foundation. And then because that's taken care of, then I can live either in the world of fear or in the world of possibility. And that's a critical decision that we all get to make moment by moment every time we experience some fear. So what I encourage everyone to do is do what you need to do at the foundation of structure. Wash your hands regularly. Make sure you have masks around. Do the things that we know work so that we can be safe in our homes and in our structures. Then if we do that, then it's time to be improvise. Then you can either worry about, I haven't done enough, we haven't done enough, I have to worry about the neighbors. I don't have to worry about the neighbors if I'm taking responsibility for myself. So I wear a mask. You'll never find me out in public without a mask. I use stuff on my hands. I'm very conscious. I change my clothing. I jump in the lake. I take the precautions that I need. And then I say to myself, I've done everything I can do. Now, at this point, I can keep worrying about it and fretting about it and inhibiting myself and making myself more constricted and smaller and stress out. Or I can say, okay, I have done everything now. Now I can go live on the edge and I can play.
Wonderful. I love that you put first the safety. I wasn't even thinking in this direction. And the moment you said the word, I was like, hello, of course. Yeah, this is fantastic. And also that you contextualize it in terms of the pandemic, and I would expand it a little bit, in any way we can make ourselves safe.
Yes.
So certainly the pandemic brings up a lot of demands on a sense of safety.
Yes.
Both in terms of the health, and then in terms of, I don't know, toilet paper, I don't know, whatever makes people feel safe.
But Anat, this is exactly what you do. When you have somebody on a table, you always go straight to, if that person on the table does not feel safe, there will be no connection. Fundamental, the most important thing to always do is to address the feeling of safety. And if you have safety, then you can have a connection with another and then you can grow into the possibility through that trust. So I'm just taking what you do in your work and applying it to this bigger picture of how do I live my life? And if you address the safety, you listen to yourself, you ask anxiety, what are you really trying to tell me? What is this energy stirring at the soul of my being? What is it trying to communicate to me? And when you go in and you zone in and you listen, then you can actually figure out, oh yeah, I did this or that. I need to do this in order to make that okay. And then I can settle. So I think it's this real delicate balance. Life is this amazing balance between really listening to these emotions and then hearing them. And then we can lift ourselves beyond them and explore the external.
Great. So the next part within this topic for me is, as you know, I live in a world of possibilities, big time, especially in the context of my work. And I from time to time encounter a limit that I've imposed on myself through a belief or an automatic reaction. What would you recommend for people? So let's say they took immediate care of their safety, bigger care of their safety, and now they're still mostly at home, or this is happening or that is happening. Do you have any suggestions how to access that, water, creativity, or that place within and without us that I know you do so powerfully connect to each person, their world of possibility, because not everybody has the same possibilities. So it's each individual universe of possibility. Do you have any suggestions regarding that?
So I think that what you're asking me is how does one's curiosity get stimulated so that they move towards something?
Well, I didn't ask you that, but you can talk about that.
Okay, so I'm gonna think about, we are this magnificent collection of neurons. And in the morning when I first wake up and I'm aware of where I am, and right now I sleep out under the stars. So I've got this canopy of God and it's beautiful. But then that sun rises and I get hot and I got to get up, right? So I wake up and I just really move into what does my body feel like? And I start moving my ankles really, really, really slowly, these little micro movements. And I think about my friend Anat Baniel, and boy, do I wish she was working on my body right now, but she's not here. So I'm going to do all these movements, and I will literally spend the first 15 to 20 minutes of my morning having an intricate, intimate relationship between my mind filled with gratitude that my ankles move, and to give them all of these different orientation possibilities. And then I just go, right up to my pelvic clock and I get my little movements going. And then I work those hip joints because Lord knows we need those. And then I'm working my spine, and, I'm out here paddleboarding and I'm biking on the water and I'm rowing and I'm swimming and I am beating my body up, using it up. And this is how I keep it going. And there's so much research right now on if you can't use the tools that you don't have. And so I want to have this thing that I call me and my body as the tool that I then get to use. And when I feel integrated and I feel well and I fuel myself with things that are good for me, plus a little dark chocolate, which is also good for me. I hear it's a bean, which makes it a vegetable. It's all good. Anyway, so that was a little tangent. So, but you use what you have. And when what you are feels well, when I feel well, that means my neurons are stimulated and connecting, and they need new stimulation. So they connect among themselves, and then they start connecting with what's around. And then I start attending to things because I feel well to attend, and then I am motivated toward. So I think it all begins at the essence of my own connection with me and my well-being. And the more well I am willing to be inside of me, then I can take what is me and what I'm interested and curious about and move then into the external naturally. But if I'm not well and I'm freaking out and I'm running my stress circuitry and I'm feeling paralyzed and I'm worried and I'm down and I'm hunkered and I'm hiding, then there's going to be no desire for those little neurons, because now they're doing this and it moves rapidly and it's unhealthy, and then it's integrating into my body a lack of wellness, and I think it kind of becomes predictable. What am I as a living being? And I have to have me in order to take me into that exploration.
This is fabulous. I love how you weave the science with imagery and poetry and personal experience. I mean, just beautiful. What I'd like to take for a moment what you said, and I'm just, as you were talking, I was visualizing, a mom and a dad and two kids and three of them, and there's a homeschooling or whatever is coming up, and maybe one of the children has special needs, and they live, I don't know, in a 2-bedroom apartment or 3-bedroom apartment in a big city. So, and they might listen to you and look at the background of this beautiful lake and, and what you describe, and might go like, oh, yeah, she can do that, but I can't do that. And, right. Yeah. So what I'd like to say, what you describe, and by the way, just to those of you who are on, starting next podcast, I mean, after we finish this series that is associated with the movie A Life Unbound, I'm going to do anywhere between a 5 to 10 minute movement lesson in the beginning of each podcast. And those lessons are movement lessons or neuromovement lessons, are what Jill basically took bits and pieces and does in bed before she gets out of bed. And what, in very general terms, what you're doing, you're waking up your brain, but you're waking up in a way that it really harmonizes it. Exactly. So all the different systems from all directions get fully awake. Yes. And the most potent states toward action is not a tense, tight, ready to pounce. It's this very quiet state that you can move fast or slow in any direction in any given moment. So that's what you're treating your brain, and your brain is part of your body. It's not a brain and a body, the whole system, into a really harmonious, ready to act. And part of action is thinking, it's imagination, and we can see and generate new possibilities under any condition. Exactly. Under any condition. And of course, there's some extreme examples, like Frankl, the psychiatrist during the Holocaust. I forgot the title of his book, but probably most of you know it. There are many extreme examples, but we don't have to be in the extreme. We can be in the middle. We can be in the good. We can be in the not so great right now. So I love that you said that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's everywhere. We can this is ours.
Yes, it is ours. And if I'm in that environment where I have a family of 4 in the city in a 2-bedroom apartment, we still have one another. And, nothing is more soothing or more calming or more connecting between humans than appropriate touch. And, to be able to even spend some quality time working with one another or being being on the floor doing a lesson together, and to calm our nervous system and to restore the calmness and the joy and the health of us. If we stem from there, it doesn't matter which environment we're in, we're going to have a healthier, better overall experience. So, the reason why I was so attracted to your work is because what you do for others is exactly what I did for myself to recover my own being when I had that major hemorrhage. And so I continue that ritual of inner connection and listening and soothing and that intentional movement in order to keep this thing all the way out to the ends. I don't want to have neuropathy when I get older. I want my little toes to still have feeling and still be connected to the whole. So yeah, there's this magnificent internal world, and it's important that we don't forget about the internal world. And right now, because of the pandemic, the whole world is focused on their internal world because, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out now because now I'm stuck inside with myself and I have to face myself. And the beauty is that we are so magnificent. And when we allow ourselves to take that focus and move inside and create that healthy network of what am I look at this in the big picture of all of a sudden, humanity, which I have always said, it's like all of us humans are making up the neural net of the consciousness of humanity. Let me say that again. Each one of us is a brain that is a neuron connected to the other brains, the other neurons of other humans, and creating a global consciousness of humanity. And what the pandemic is forcing us to do is to look at our own health and well-being as an individual neuron, an individual brain in that humanity consciousness. And when we come up out of this, things will be different because we will be different. We will value new things. We will focus our energy into new things. We will create higher levels of order that are different because we're different. And we have a whole lot to say about what's going on inside of our own psyches.
Yeah. And the important part, of course, and you keep referring to that, and that's not the only way by any means, but just wanting, I'd like to start somewhere. You mentioned higher order. As I understand the way the brain works, it literally can upgrade itself to higher qualities of functioning within which we are smarter, we have more freedom, we have new solutions, we have new ideas and possibilities, or we can operate in a way that reduces the quality, that we're degraded. And,
yes.
We all have experienced it one way or another. When we're really sick and have a very high fever, we're not exactly sitting down and doing math problems, right? So that's a very natural thing, this fluctuation. But if we are intentional about it, we can actually train our own brain to operate on a higher and higher capacity and level of organization, self-organization, and freedom.
Yes.
And one of the ways is, of course, the Anat Baniel method, NeuroMovement. There are many, so much of the personal growth. We had Rick Hansen. He does wonderful work. The meditation. There is many ways to do it, to intentionally drive continued growth. That means continued differentiation within the brain. So we make the population of our own brain richer with more possibilities to function at a higher and higher level of refinement. Exactly. And I think that is very important to mention to people, because I know you quite well, and you are so committed to learning and to figuring things out. And you were, I believe, that way before the stroke, but I think after the stroke, your experience went like, I've got to figure this out. I've got to communicate to people about it. And so it's a very proactive state. It's not a passive state.
Well, think about this. When, the difference between a reptile, which is a cold-blooded entity, the reptilian brainstem of us, it's kind of on-off switches. I'm hungry until I'm satiated. I'm thirsty until it tells me I've had enough. It's on-off pretty much. And then emotional tissue got added on top of that, and we evolved into mammals. And so mammals have emotional systems that the reptiles didn't have. Well, humans now have thinking on top of that. So we have the thinking, the emotional, and the reptilian. And this is higher refinement. The emotion refined the reptilian, and the human thinking has refined the emotion. And if we get caught in the negative emotion or the fear or the anxiety, instead of just realizing that's a language my brain is using to communicate with me, I need to listen to it. I don't need to freak out and hold and freak out. I need to actually feel, what does that feel like inside of my body? And it feels like energy. And if I realize when I'm feeling anxiety, I'm a big ball of energy anyway, clearly, a big ball of energy. And then my anxiety circuitry is triggered. And now I'm feeling an anxiety energy. And it's like, what is my brain trying to say to me? Instead of, I have to freak out, I have to be afraid of everything. It's like, no, go in and listen to it and ask it literally, pause. What is it that is causing this anxiety? And as soon as you do that, you're observing it instead of engaging with it. And it is feeling like it has your attention, and we become aware of what was the cause of that anxiety. It dissipates, and I can go back into my thinking circuitry and re-engage again in a way that is more refined, is more differentiating, and is more curious toward something that I know nothing about.
Okay, I apologize. I don't know if you can hear, there's some work done outside. So if you don't hear it, that's great. I'll stop worrying about it.
Were you feeling a bit of anxiety?
I was feeling a little bit of concern, yeah, and I listened to it, so I decided to ask the question. It was a conscious decision. And I want to add to that another element when you said it's the switch on and off.
Yes.
The way the brain evolves, and including the higher centers, is basically to learn, to create connections, to create patterns, and then groove them in. Right. And unless we are awake and continue work with awareness and continue on growth, we become like the higher brain starts operating like a lower brain. That means it goes into complete automaticity. Right. You get the trigger, you get the response, you get the trigger, you get the response. And that is a huge part, in my perception, and I don't think I'm alone in that, or a huge cause for human suffering.
Yes.
Because as humans, we need automaticity. You get into your car and drive, you don't want to have to figure it out every morning from scratch, right? We want to be able to say 2 and 2 is 4 and not have to really think deeply about what it is until we figure it out. So the automaticity is important, but parallel to the automaticity, I found that through my work for over years, that it's extremely important to keep the new, what is called the new, but the formation, the different, the brain that we had as young children that just kept figuring it out, kept discovering, kept making sense of things, kept learning. That is so much a part of our health. Yes. And I don't know if there's research. Actually, Merzenich has research about that. But also from my observation, like sickly children or even adults, when they do this work, they get healthier. That means the immune system responds positively to this organic growth, this continued organic learning and growth. So we need our automaticity, but we don't want to use ourselves like we're operating from the reptile brain level, but rather have Okay, so that's, I just wanted to add, but I wanted to ask you, because you say that, I say that, and other people say, and
Wait,
then
wait, can I throw something at
oh
that?
yeah, sure, of course.
What you just described is really familiarity, and we want enough familiarity that we feel safe and everything can go on automatic. But the brain thrives. If I'm a neuron and you're a neuron, and we got all these neurons who are on here, and we all know one another, and this is all we do, eventually we're going to run out of something to talk about, right? It might take a while because there are a lot of us and we're interesting people, but eventually we're going to like run out of data. We have to reach outside of the net, and the brain thrives on new stimulation. It thrives on new stimulation. It wants new stimulation. And as we age, it is our tendency to routinize ourselves so that everything becomes predictable. So I have minimal amount of effort that I have to make. Well, what you're saying to the brain is, brain, okay, we don't need for you to go and explore anymore and do new things anymore, because we are doing everything we can so that you don't have any surprises. Everything's routine. You're going to eat the same thing every Tuesday. You're going to have the same dinner with the same people. And it's just like, okay. And so the brain then adjusts to the behavior. It wants new stimulation. It has neuroplasticity. And if we don't exercise the neuroplasticity, then it gets bored out too. It's not like it's going to do it and then change is going to happen in the brain, and then you're going to go do it unless you're purposely creating that. It's that if you stop exploring in the external world, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller because you're not using it, and the demand on it. The beautiful thing about the brain, one of them, is that you want something and it will show up for you. But if I'm curious and I live on a boat now and my generator blows up, well, all of a sudden I've got to get my head in that manual because I don't know anything about a generator. And then I find, well, I can change my fuel pump. I don't have to freak out. I can change this. I can change that. I don't have to have the anxiety because I don't know, because I let myself go and learn. The brain is a learning machine, and it wants to learn and learn and learn and learn.
Wonderful. Just wonderful. Okay, so, and I want to say something from, again, my work and my experience. When we open up, like when we do those movement lessons, the NeuroMovement lessons, we know what instructions we follow, but what we learn is always a surprise. We get to be able to do the movements better, but the changes, the actual changes that occur as a result of doing the lesson is to be discovered. And I think that could be applied, so it's a process. It's how we apply ourselves that creates learning. That's the 9 essentials.
Yes.
So so what you gave the example of the manual, you do want to learn how to operate your generator and not blow up or have the boat go on fire, catch fire. And you use your ability and wakefulness to be an efficient learner of that. And then when we go and do other things, when we utilize the essentials, when we apply ourselves in the world that way, we learn a whole lot more than we expected to learn. And that's where the creativity starts popping up. That's the unexpected that starts popping up. Yeah. And it's also true going internal. And actually, that leads me to the next question. Oh. I say that, and I heard you say it in a very efficient way, and there's a whole book about that. But I'd like you to speak, because you said, we have the reptile, then the emotional, then came the thinking. However, this is a highly integrated, interconnected system, the brain. It doesn't have first floor, second floor, third floor. And you said we're not, how did you say? Well, we are
thinking, we are feeling creatures who think.
Yeah, we're not thinking creatures who feel.
Creatures
who think. So thinking, thank you for knowing what I wanted to say. So the thinking, yes, the brilliance, the ability to truly think, that creates something new. Thinking is a new thing. Yes. Repetition, we can repeat old thoughts, but new thoughts are are novel. They're different, but they emerge. They arise from the feeling self.
Yes.
And can you talk about that? Because most people are so dissociated from how they learned to know things that people think that thinking, and that's why so often when people also express more emotion, people assume that they don't know what they're thinking about.
Yes. Okay. So back to here's your reptile, and it's more or less on off, and then new tissue gets added on top of that is emotion. And that's when we become mammals. Mammals do have emotion, and they have what we call bilaterality, in that it's the same on both sides, that we assume, but we don't know that for sure. In the human, however, this right hemisphere is all about the right here, right now, present moment. So I have emotions right here, right now. I stub my toe, I squeal like a pig because I'm programmed to do that when I feel hard pain like that. But it's a right here, right now experience. And then my left brain, though, brings in emotion. And as soon as it brings it in, it compares it to anything I've had happen in the past. And so it says to me, okay, Jill, this is the third time you stubbed your toe on that thing, move the thing. And it was like, oh, okay. So I have the experience of the present moment, and I have the experience of the present moment related to my past. And then I have my thinking brain saying, okay, it's time to do something about it. My rational brain comes online, which is my left brain. But the point is that we have two emotional systems. One is right here, right now. What am I experiencing? What am I feeling? When I do ABM, or you do ABM, somebody does ABM to me, I am having a current moment, present moment experience. And new and exciting connections are being made in my brain, because my body is being moved in such a way that it is encouraging new associations and connections at my neural system about what's going on at my hip or anywhere else in my body. So in the movement patterning of the body, I am experiencing, and it's actually increasing neuroplasticity, stimulating it. And my brain is going, oh, I really love this. I hope it goes on forever. And then, and that's a beautiful thing. I just really went way off the target. But anyway, so we have the emotional systems. We are emotional creatures, emotion of the present related to the past, and emotion current. And then above that comes our thinking minds. And the right brain comes right up. It evolves. It's designed to refine that right emotional system, which is right here, right now. So that right mind is thinking in curiosity in the present moment about everything I'm being exposed to right here, right now. And then the left thinking brain is, let's create order on a linearity of time, because now the left brain has linearity, because the emotional system said, okay, I have a relationship with the past. Has this happened in the past? And then that left brain comes online to refine that and says, I am rational. I am organized. I can create order in my world, and I can fix it. So we have all of these different groups, major masses of cells inside of our brain that then work together moment by moment for us to have our experience.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm glad I asked. So two things. We promised people 10 minutes or a little longer, if it's okay with you, of Q&A. Okay. And the other thing is, do you want to speak about the book you're writing, or do you want to wait on that?
Yeah, no, okay. So everything I just told you is what my book 2 is about. We have this reptilian brain, we have this right and left emotional system, one for the present, one for linearity over time. From that comes thinking, linearity over time, and up here comes right hemisphere thinking in the present moment. So having lost my whole left hemisphere, I lost my left thinking, and I lost my emotion underneath it. And those were actually characters who behaved in certain ways and had different personalities. And so when I lost those, I was still conscious, I was still aware, but I was in the right here, right now experience. So I still had my right thinking brain and my right emotional brain. And so this book, once I recovered my left emotion and my left thinking, it's a matter of how does one live a full life? How do you live a whole brain experience with these 4 different characters inside of your head? And what does that conversation look like? And it's going to be unique to each of us.
Fantastic. I happen to know a little bit more about it already, and I am eager to have a copy by my bedside or also on my Audible, so I can.
I believe that knowing who you are gives you the power to choose who you want to be in any moment.
Yeah. There's nothing more important than know thyself. I mean, this is ancient knowledge. I mean, what for me, my work, and again, it's not the only way to do it, but my work, it's in reality, it's in the physics, it's in the biology, it's in the gravitational field, and it's through the inside to the outside, because the subjective world for us is always much bigger and has more primacy than the external, except under extreme conditions. But it's always, so that's the richest place from which to go out and be also useful and enjoy and impactful and contributing to others. Yes. And to the earth, or to the, whatever, our world. So how about we open it for questions? Do you have some questions already in the chat, Neil?
Yes, and you should be able to see them. I have some roadworks outside, so it's probably better if you read them than me.
Okay, so Neil, it's not a question. Hooray! It's a Jill ! From Beverly, Manchester, and then from, I can't say the name well, Skoina Tansman. Awesome experience to be with you, Jill.
Beautiful.
And then the name of the book is Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. I read it as a teenager. It had like the most profound impact. I mean, and he continued, he moved to the United States, he survived, and he had the most important and fantastic long career as a psychiatrist and a humanist. Okay, I have a question, Jill. It's from Theo Adam Bateson. What part of the brain is the one that looks after our relationship to the future with respect to the present?
The left brain knows of time. The left brain has this clock that sits and ticks in the back of the brain that gives us this artificial perception of linearity, which does not exist. But we have this group of cells that says we have a past, we have a present, we have a future. So when I wiped out my left brain, I had no future, I had no past. All I cared about was the rich expansiveness of the present moment in all of its glory.
Okay. This is a, I don't know if it's a question you've even looked at, and I think it's way beyond this, but I'm just going to throw it out so we can maybe have a conversation about that. I say that the brain, that we're three-dimensional beings, but we have a fourth dimension that is very, very important for brain, and that's the temporal, that's the time, the temporal dimension. And I'm just curious, I never thought of it until this moment. I assumed it's across the brain, or otherwise, how can we move and how can we coordinate? And whether that aspect relates to the perception of future and past, and does the right brain has its own version of temporal regulation and perception?
All I can say is that when I lost my left brain, I lost the clock. I no longer had minutes and hours. I didn't have a past anymore. All I had was right here, right now. People who have lost that group of cells permanently, they have to have a little book that says everything about where they live, all the details of their life, because it goes away. In the present moment, I would remember things as experiences. I would have a moment. So I might have a moment where I am brushing my hair. Well, I got a lot of hair. It gets tangled up. It's going to take a while. It is a moment. Now, that moment could take a minute. It could take 10 minutes if I've been in and out of the lake and I got a bad tangle. It's a moment. It's an experience. So the right brain is in a moment. It's having an experience. And then there's a new moment, and all the other moments are gone. Your only moment you're in is in the moment you're currently in. There's no recollection of the last moment. You have to have the left brain in order to have that past memory. So it's like, let's say I'm talking to you, and then I'm having this moment. We're sharing an hour of time. We're having a moment. And then it's over and I walk away, and now I'm with the woods and I'm with my boat. And the recollection of this moment is completely gone. It's not gnawing on me or contributing or feeding information. It's gone. I'm right here in the expansiveness. So in order to have any time or any recollection, you have to have that left brain.
What happens when it's the right brain that's off?
When the right brain goes off, people find the biggest complaint that I find is that people can't find God. They can't find God because God is in the expansive, open, present moment, beauty, the magnificence, the richness. What does it feel like? And if I'm cut off from that and all I have are the details and the time and the this and the that and the minutia, it's hard to find God in the minutia.
And one would say it's hard to find oneself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, we're moving on here. So, I can ask you any question. You don't have any problem with looking at any question. Some people have to be a little more careful to stay with
I love Q&A.
Yeah, good.
One night I'm in possibilities. I have no idea what I'm going to get asked.
Yeah, I like it a lot too. So exciting to know Jill has a new book. That's, I think, coming from Neil. No, it's from somebody else, and I don't know. Oh, it's private. As a speech language pathologist working with stroke survivors and TBI, traumatic brain injury, in traditional settings, I find it frustrating that integrative practitioners are not a part of healing. Survivors need healthy nutrition, ABN, I think it meant ABM, etc. How do you see we can get our standard care to change? I know you left the hospital and found real healing at home with your mother through nutrition and intuitive teaching and therapy.
The system's changing. I mean, we needed a big whack upside the head as a society, and we're getting it right now. And I think that as the entire medical system has to rearrange itself because it's seen what its shortfalls are, things will change. And I think we just need to use our voices. That's a huge question. That's a little bit bigger than.
Yeah. Okay. Another private. Hi, Jill. You look fantastic.
Thank you. I feel fantastic.
Okay. Living on a boat, what do you consider great about it in light of empowering your growth and freedoms and well-being?
Oh, wow. Why wouldn't that be enough? So what I love about it is I'm a water dog. And I believe that when you look at electrical currents and all the electromagnetic radiation in the world and all this energy stuff, when you're in the water, when I'm in the water, I find stillness, and my body likes that. So I spend a lot of time in the water. First of all, living on a boat is like living on a living creature. It's a house. It's got all these systems. They all run. I didn't know about generators and inverters and battery banks and it's a machine. It's but it breathes. We have a relationship. and something breaks on my boat, and it's like, oh, I'm so glad you broke because I want to tend to you. I mean, it's like there's this love relationship going on. So I'm going to do this for as long as I absolutely can. But I think one of the biggest things is it is so beyond anything I've ever known that the level of growth that my brain has had to wrap itself in order to learn new things and to not be afraid of learning new things. Now, so you said something earlier about, the generator breaks and I go into the manual. My brain hates manuals. I hate manuals. I will pay somebody else to read the damn manual and tell me what to do, and I'll do it. But I don't have anybody out here now to read the manual, so I have to read the manual. Well, just by pushing myself to do something that it doesn't really want to do, I'm pretty good at reading manuals now, so it turns out. So I'm growing, and I turned 60 last year, and it's like, I just want to grow and grow and grow and grow until I'm not here to grow anymore. I feel like that's what I've got this brain for.
Jill, this so relates to so many people's experience during the COVID, because people find themselves, including myself, having to do things that I never had to do myself, including reading manuals, by the way. So... And I have paid people to take care of those different things because I prefer to do my work and use my time in other ways, right? And also, the brain loves to get lazy. It loves newness, but it loves to get efficient and lazy and do as little variability as possible.
Exactly.
So let's see. There's a couple more, and we'll see how much. Okay, so that's just lovely. I think you'll be happy to hear it. Obviously, living on a boat and sleeping under the stars is great for you! ! You look vital and alive. Jill, I've shared your book and TED Talk with every stroke survivor I've worked with for the last 10 years. You provide such hope. I sent you my book because I've included both you and Anat in my book, Hope After Stroke for Caregivers. Oh, I'm so glad. I didn't know where this book came from. You should have gotten it too. Hi, it's going. I haven't looked at the book yet, but it's called Hope After Stroke for Caregivers and Survivors, the holistic guide to getting your life back. Wonderful. Anybody interested? I'm going to say the name of the book again. It's called Hope After Stroke. The last name of the writer, the author, is Tanzman, Tanzman.
Good.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I want to ask you a question, because I would love you to say, I love how you speak about it. You took a big portion of the training, the practitioner training program. And you like really protect and cherish your time. Yeah. Could you say why you did that, and what I know you love the work. Do you want to say just a minute or two? Yeah,
I wanted to I went through the first 7 modules. And I did that, and that's a big time commitment. I mean, that was flying to Vegas and all of that. Doing this work monopolizes one's life. I mean, this is a training. But I did it because, besides it's fantastic for my body, I wanted to understand, why does this work? When you and I first met one another, you gave me your book, one of them, I don't know which one.
Kids Beyond Limits. Kids Beyond Limits.
And I read it on my way home, and I said, this chick gets it. She does for other people what I did for my own brain. And the beauty for me was that now all of a sudden, all these hundreds and thousands of people who send me emails and say, what did you do? How do I find help? I can just send them to you because you do what I did for other people. But why? I wanted to understand at the neurological level, what are you doing? How does the ABM process, how does it stimulate neuroplasticity? And by taking the course and by experiencing it, really realizing that you will often do, it's not like you do this and you do that, and you do this and you do that and you do this. It's like you do 1,000 things in 1,000 different ways, and every different orientation of movement creates new possibility. Well, that's just not what a possibility. That's neural connections between those cells that are related to that structure, which are related to cells in the brain that are doing that. And it's creating more and more. So let's say I'm a neuron and I look like this. Well, I'm going to have so much interconnection with around me, but ABM makes me go like this. So now it's like all of a sudden, oh yeah. And then the cells next to me and the cells next to me, and we're all interconnected. And now when there's a desire, a need, a demand placed on down there, they can do it because we can negotiate it up here. And it was beautiful. I mean, it's the work you do, you and I are just kindred spirits, and because we do the same thing, we just do it differently. But one of my greatest blessings is having you as a sister on this planet. You are, besides who you are as an individual, besides what you do in the world, the gift that you are as a human, your own understanding and the way that you and I can communicate and share with one another, it's so special for me, and it's so beautiful for humanity. I'm just so grateful.
Oh my God, I'm starting to cry. I'm not sad. I'm checking in. I'm deeply moved. Yeah.
Well, I love you, and I love what you do. I love the team that you're building. I mean, I've said to you before, build an army of people who can go out there and help people heal. And so for me to be able to really spend quality time and the lovely people you attract into the program. I mean, my pack that I was with, they're my pack, they're my heart, they're my family, they're beautiful. There's just a real heart opening and connection that happens inside of this. And the intention is so beautiful. It's about healing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much. I love you to pieces and to wholeness. and of course I love our sisterhood and our professional camaraderie is remarkable. And I love all the people that, we work with and we teach, and our graduates and the people on the call right now. And we are an hour and a half into the interview. Time passes really fast. So
it's actually an hour, Anat.
It's an hour. Oh, okay. Okay. So it's an hour. and Jill, we'll communicate with you whatever resources, links to whatever, or you might want to have people, because this is going to become it's going on the podcast and it lives forever in the podcast.
Yes.
So people can benefit from it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And we have lots of questions and comments in the chat, which I will forward to both of you so you can see them.
Okay.
Great.
So sorry for the questions we didn't have a chance to answer. But we will keep doing podcasts, and some with Jill and some without Jill. I've already named that you'll come back on, but without your consent, but sometime in the future. What?
Always happy to. And I'd love to do one where we actually talk about through your eyes as a practitioner and through my eyes as the child the child that I was, and what that meant to me. I think that perspective is so profoundly important.
Oh my God, this would be so good. I just got shivers throughout my whole body. So my feeling right brain is just like saying, ooh, wow, yay. Yeah. It would be phenomenal. And also because I've worked with you and I know you and your body and all that stuff. So So yeah, we will schedule that soon.
Great.
I will put it on the schedule. Amazing. And
to your people, to all of the people on here, and I just want to say my heart is open. I send you love. I just send you, feel my vibe. I'm there. Close your eyes. We're all connected. I'm there. You're never alone. You're always connected to everything else, like a big old neuron in the universe. But without this, we are the universe. So thank you for caring enough to be on this line. And Neil, Dalit, so good to see you. Anat, I adore you. Let's catch up anytime.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Big love to everyone.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Yeah, so these amazing series of conversations, I don't think we can call them interviews. They're just amazing conversations between Anat and these extraordinary human beings, including Dr. Jill, are being done in conjunction with our 6-day online screening of Life Unbound, that again, these two incredible human beings feature very highly in, about Anat's work. And we have one more of these incredible conversations to come tomorrow with Dr. Christina Bethel. And that's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. So,
by the way, Jill, if you do have the time, come on, because Christina is doing incredibly important work all the way to the level of policy regarding child trauma, identifying it, and path to recovery, and the huge neglect that we have in our society around that.
Okay.
So if you want to come, it's the same link you were on today. I think it'd be fantastic, because she's really also a huge fan of NeuroMovement, and it's all a big conversation, which I'll talk to you about more in detail later. Okay.
What time is that tomorrow?
6 our time, 9 your time.
Okay. No, I'm on Central. Perfect.
Okay, so 8. Maybe you'll be on the lake and we can. Okay, bye.
So, Jill, I've allowed everybody to unmute themselves so they can say goodbye and thank you to you. So unmute yourselves and wave and say bye. And thank you so much for being here.
When does your book come out?
Goodbye, Jill. You're wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
See you again.
Absolutely amazing cutting edge work from you two women.
Feel your vibe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Couldn't appreciate it more.
Awesome.
When does your book come out?
April 20th, 2021.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on NeuroMovement Revolution with Anat Baniel. You will find all of our podcasts and additional resources on our website at www.anatbanielmethod.com. You can also subscribe to this podcast for free on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and TuneIn. We look forward to seeing you online for our next NeuroMovement Revolution.